The illiteracy rate in Washington County currently stands around 17%. But how does that affect our local economy? And how does it impact recidivism rates? Welcome to Insight.
Washington County has one of the higher illiteracy rates in our state, unfortunately, and it's about 17%. That means 17% of the adult population in Washington County cannot read above a fourth grade level.
So what kind of an effect does this have on our local economy?
Negative impact, unfortunately, because people who cannot read to comprehend are a drain on business. They cause the biggest amount of industrial accidents, the biggest amount of mismanagement of shipments, etc., particularly in our community where we depend a lot on distribution, warehousing industry. Plus, it is not a secret to the rest of the world. Literacy rates are published nationally, and companies who are looking to relocate to communities are looking at communities, not only their education rates, how many of our population have gone beyond a post-secondary education, but also they're looking at things like literacy. Will they have a literate workforce to hire if they relocate a portion or all of their business to our community?
So who is affected in our community?
You will see it across a broad spectrum of our population. Of course, now as we're becoming a more multicultural community, we have a lot of new immigrants coming into our community who English is not their primary language. So they are having to learn a new language, having to learn to read in a new language. Some of them, though, are illiterate in their own native language as well. So they are under a double handicap. And those are issues that we as a community have to grapple with. We have to work with our new populations to make sure that they're full contributing members of our community. Because remember, those who are well educated, those who are illiterate, who can go on to high school and successfully matriculate in school, they go out into the workforce. They go out and contribute to our community. They pay taxes. They help build the roads, and they help build the schools and the libraries and the healthcare systems that make this a community we want to live in.
But as a society, do we truly realize the dangers associated with not being able to read?
There's been a lot of children who have been seen in emergency room for mismanaged medication or inadvertent overdoses because their mothers, not intentionally, but because they could not understand the directions, could not read the direction, unfortunately over-medicated their child.
I asked Mary what were the factors affecting illiteracy in our community.
Well, one of the things I like to say, Rachel, is that literacy is a multi-generational scourge, meaning that if your parents are illiterate, you have a greater chance of being illiterate yourself. People who don't realize that people who have learning disabilities are not lacking in intelligence. They are very bright people. And the fact that many of our adult illiterate members of our community started life when dyslexia was not as understood as it is today. So they got off on a bad foot, and it wasn't recognized that they had a learning disability. And by the time they got out of school, they either dropped out or were socially promoted and put into the mainstream community. They became very adept at hiding their disability, the fact that they could not read.
How closely is illiteracy related to the number of people entering the criminal justice system?
If you go into one of our state prisons, you will see that the majority of those incarcerated have learning issues, that they're functionally illiterate. And I know that our correctional system, one of its goals is to try to get the GED through, to get our incarcerated populations into GED programs, and those that are successful in obtaining their GED when they are incarcerated come out and have a much less chance of returning to prison within 5 years. However, the challenge for our correctional system is that a GED is predicated on the fact that you have the learning skills to start the high school equivalent programs. Well, if you can't read at all, or you can only read on a second and third grade level, there's so much remediation that has to be done to get that incarcerated person up to a level where they are able to understand the high school equivalency programs that will lead to a GED. Yeah. You can learn to read, and you have a 70% chance of staying out of the system. If you don't, you have more than a 50-50 chance of returning to incarceration within 5 years.
So what is available in our community to help those who are illiterate?
We have the Literacy Coalition in Washington County, which is a group of volunteers who work one-on-one with an adult learner. And they can actually call the library, and we will forward them information to connect with the volunteer program. And I think that the point that I want to make to our community is, if you have someone in your family, if you have problems as an adult in learning to read, you need to be proactive. There is no disgrace, there is no stigma attached to this. We are more and more recognizing that it is not your fault. The system failed you, and that you need to, and there are people out there who want to help you start to learn to read. And if you do, whole worlds will open up to you.
Next time on Insight, I'll be talking to Dave Hanlon, the president of the Literacy Task Force in Washington County. Until then, cheerio. If you would like more information on the Literacy Council of Washington County, call 301-739-4208 or check out the following website.